Now, the best writing app is the one that fits all of your needs. And with that being said, not all writing apps are created equal. Well, I'm Mike with WriterSanctuary, and today we're going to be comparing 11 important aspects that I feel are warranted for Scrivener and Reedsy. Though I can tell you right now that I do use both platforms to write different stories. There's just things about either one that I really like. So, which app is better, Reedsy or Scrivener? Well, let's bring us some scorecards and let's get started. First thing we're going to be looking at is cost. Now, Reedsy is absolutely free to use. You don't have to use their platform, and you can export it once you're done writing and post it on Amazon or any other ebook format that you'd like. Now, Scrivener, it does have a one-time fee of $60, which means it's not a subscription, which is always a good thing. And Scrivener is also cheaper than a lot of apps that I've seen. So for this one, I'm definitely going to have to give it to Reedsy because, it's free. Next up, let's take a look at ease of use. Now, Reedsy's tools are quite obvious and easy to find. Everything you need is right in front of you, and when you highlight any piece of text, you'll get more options to format it with bolds and italicize and bullet points and all that other good junk. Scrivener, on the other hand, feels a little bit more like it's a software from the early 2000s. There's just options everywhere, and it's really hard to find certain things that you're looking for unless you do a Google search. And because there is so much to Scrivener, it can be intimidating for first-time users. So this one's definitely going to have to go to Reedsy. Next up is general features. Now, what makes Scrivener difficult to use is also the thing that puts it way ahead of the competition when it comes to functionality. Now, both platforms do have the basic needs for every writer. However, Scrivener just has way more to it. You can customize just about every aspect of anything that you decide to write. So when it comes to features, Scrivener definitely gets the point. In fact, there's very few apps out there that can even compare to the customization that Scrivener offers. Okay, what about the workflow layout? Now this is how everything appears while you're typing, and for this one, both Reedsy and Scrivener get the point because they both have similar layouts. Now, even though by default, Reedsy does have a larger font, so it makes it easier to read, but you can also increase the font in Scrivener with just selecting the text or selecting the font. Not to mention that neither one of them have wraparound text. When you're writing it, it looks similar to what you'd see on a book or an ebook. Both apps just work really well. Okay, so let's take a look at goals and progress. Now, both platforms offer goals and a bit of progress, but when it comes down to it, Scrivener's statistics and writing history don't let you do anything else once you open them because it locks the window. The goal window is the only one that actually you can open and set aside somewhere and keep an eye on. Reedsy, on the other hand, you can open it up on the screen and just start typing, and you can access everything without having to close a window. So even though both of them do offer goals, I'm going to have to give it to Reedsy only because it is so much easier to see what you're writing. And it just looks nicer overall. So what about editing tools? And with editing tools, I mean things like highlighting, making comments, tracking your changes. Now, both Reedsy and Scrivener will come with editing tools, and both of them work fairly well. You can highlight text, you can make comments, you can record and track any changes you make. However, I'm probably going to wind up giving this one to Reedsy only because it is so much easier to manage than it is in Scrivener. For instance, in Reedsy, I just highlight a piece of text, hit the comment button, write whatever comment it is, and it'll show up on the comments on the sidebar. It's a little bit more convoluted in Scrivener, but they do both offer it. The only reason why I think Reedsy would get the point on this one is because it is much easier to manage. So what about sharing links? Now, shareable links are great when you have beta readers or if you're doing collaborations. And out of both platforms, Reedsy is the only one that lets you share a link to where people can get a read-only copy of your manuscript. Now, in both cases, you can export the manuscript as a docx file and then share it through email that way, because neither platform has an editable or online direct collaboration like Google Docs. So it's kind of convoluted on how you have to share stuff. So out of all of that, Reedsy is the only one that offers a link that you can share with beta readers or if you're collaborating with somebody else. That way they get a read-only copy and they can see it. They just can't make changes. Now let's look at research and notes. Now, although Reedsy does have a planning board, which is quite useful, you're only able to pin one board at a time. This is when you pin one of the boards to your manuscript as you write. This is incredibly helpful if you are like me and forget a lot of people's names. However, Scrivener goes well above and beyond that. Now, Scrivener, you have a split screen view, so you can have your manuscript on one side and all of your research notes on another. And if you want to switch that, you just select that second screen, pick whatever you want, click it once, and you're good to go. Now you can do something similar with Reedsy, but you have to go back into the planning board and then pin a new document, go back to the manuscript, scroll down to where you were when you were writing, and then continue. Tracking your research and your notes in Scrivener is just a hell of a lot easier, especially with that split screen. Okay, so what about an offline mode? Unfortunately, Reedsy doesn't have one at the moment. Reedsy is purely web-based, which means everything it's saved is on their server. This also means that any extensions you have installed on your browser will work with Reedsy, such as dark mode. But, like I experienced earlier today, before this video even started, sometimes Reedsy would crap out and tell me that my internet connection's lost. So I have to sit here for a good 2 or 3 minutes before it reloads and brings up the manuscript. I've never had an issue loading up anything from Scrivener because, well, it's a program that's saved on your computer. All of your manuscripts, all of your data, all of it is under your control. And for me, that is paramount. Okay, what about adding front and back matter? Now, front and back matter is the stuff like prologues, epilogues, your table of contents, a dedication page, a slew of other things. Well, I'm going to have to give this point for both Reedsy and Scrivener. Granted, Reedsy's ability to add and remove front and back matter is a hell of a lot easier because it's just a toggle switch and then you can click on it and edit whatever you like. With Scrivener, if you're missing something, you just right click, create a new file, and you're good to go. So it's relatively easy to add front and back matter in either platform. And lastly, export formatting. Currently, Reedsy only has 3 different ways that it can export your book. Now they say they have more coming, but after 2.5 years, I haven't seen more than 3. But who knows, I might be adding some soon. My point is that Scrivener has a plethora of options available. You can export your manuscript through a variety of ways in Scrivener. It's a little bit more advanced and you have to make a few selections, but you have complete customization and control over exporting in like 25, 30 different formats. That's not including being able to add more and create your own. Something else you might want to consider is that Reedsy will use the fonts that you have installed on your computer, which means if you have 1,000 fonts on your machine, you have 1,000 fonts available in Scrivener. So there we have it. We have 11 different things. Looks like Reedsy is ahead by 1 freaking point. Now what it mostly boils down to is ease of use. Overall, Reedsy is just a lot easier to handle than Scrivener because there is so much to Scrivener. It's easy to get lost in it. Now when it comes to features and overall functionality, Scrivener is a superior choice. It's just considerably a lot more difficult to learn and operate. Now, if Scrivener had a more elegant output and more of a visual appearance, kind of like how Reedsy has it, I have no doubt that Scrivener would slaughter the competition, especially when it comes to collecting new writers. Because there is just so much you can do in Scrivener. It's just so difficult to learn. But perhaps one of my most favorite features of Scrivener is the split screen view. I use that quite a bit, especially when I'm writing Despair. I have stuff in Despair that I completely forgot about from like 2 years ago. I guess what it really comes down to is in the end is how advanced you want to get with writing your books. If you're new and just want to get a few books out and publish on Amazon, Reedsy is probably a great choice for you. But if you really want to dazzle readers and take your writing further through a myriad of customizations, Scrivener is an affordable choice. So which app do you prefer? As I said, I use Reedsy and Scrivener for 2 different story types. I have Kingmaker and Fury in Reedsy, but I have my Wattpad work, especially Despair, in Scrivener as I learn how to use the software. There's just so much to Scrivener that it's easy to get lost. And there's a few other customizations in Scrivener that I can't wait to try out when I export Despair as an ebook. Unfortunately, I recently did a survey for Reedsy, which they were asking input from their writers about features they would like us to see them add, so I might have to do this video all over again in the future. Hopefully they add collaboration. That would just be awesome. Anywho, if you enjoyed the video, hit the like button for more videos about self-publishing, freelance writing, blogging, or anything else I cover. Hit the subscribe button. Don't forget to hit the notification bell. I think that's going to do it for me today. I'll see you next time.